I know you'll whoop some. Bring
I'm gonna
that
whoop some ass
mentality
for
now.
you.
Bring
I
that
swear.
mentality. I know you'll whoop some. We'll see you here, man. Enjoy with your family. We'll talk to you in a second. All right.
Appreciate you, guys. Thank
Okay,
you.
man. Love.
Bye. Woo! Raiders.
Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Hey, welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas. I am podcasting on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. POR. SBR is my Twitter handle. And for Ryan Holmes, it's RHOLM22. For the signal caller, you got the Solo Lopez. So we do a show with him. And then check out Coach B as well, who we do all the USC stuff together on the show sometimes as well too. Looking for a USC show with him this week. So trying, now that I'm moved in and settled a little bit, try to do some of these every morning for you. I did want to do I'm going to do a reaction show to the Max Crosby interview with Devontae Adams because I thought it was very interesting. I really enjoy hearing Devontae talk football, and he's really just, and if you saw him on the Shop not too long ago, that was a really good interview as well. So I would check that out for for Raider fans because that was cool as well. But let's start off with yesterday, the Athletic, Ted Nguyen, Tashawn Reed, Vic Tafer, and that crew did a space on Twitter, and I will do want to commend them for that because a lot of times like writers like that, they're getting paid. They don't have to do a space. They did a space. They talked about the draft. They kind of wrapped the draft on the space, and then when they wrapped the draft on the space, they took questions, and that's another thing that I've seen spaces where they don't even take questions. So I give them a lot of credit for that too as well because they don't have to do that. I know fans were very interested in that. I think they had a lot of people in that space. I'm sure, and it's on Ted Wynn's Twitter, so you can this recorded. You can just play it on your way to work. Play it at the gym if you want to hear what fans have to say, some fan questions, and also what they had to say about the draft. But a couple of things I want to react to is the comp of the Detroit Lions. So I heard that like a little bit in there, and the just have a really good draft. For the Raiders, I thought this was a B minus draft. The only thing that could have, if they got a future quarterback, that would have made it an A. But I can't go higher than that because they still have Gardner Minshew at quarterback and have AOC at quarterback, so I can't do that. So that comp was like not a really good one for me because while I think both draft classes were really good and Brad Holmes and Campbell are doing a great job in Detroit. Let's be honest, like Jared Goff has found new life there. Jared Goff was number one pick overall. Like that's the guy who they traded for, and they took a chance on him. And they knew they have an offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson who really takes advantage of what he does well. They are a very dynamic offensive football team, and I get what they were trying to say, but at the end of the day, like that's not the same because one of the first things they did was go out there and get a quarterback. Like they called the Rams and they said, "Hey, we're gonna we know you want to move, and we know you want to move golf." They traded for they traded and got and acquired Jared Goff, and Jared Goff has been the top 10 quarterback ever since he's been there. And if it wasn't for a play here or a play there, he should have been really playing in the Super Bowl. Like, I mean, if the Niners win that game on a INT that goes off of a quarterback's head into Brian Ayuk's hands. Some over aggressiveness by Coach Campbell going for two, or I'm sorry, going for plays here and there where he just didn't do what he was supposed to do. Like field goals, stuff like that. being overly aggressive instead of using football sense, I mean, they probably go to the Super Bowl, but they were in the Final Four. So it's still really a positive season for the Detroit Lions. And we look for more for the Lions this year. But piece by piece, like move by move, they made some, TJ Hawkinson. I'm sorry, TJ Hawkinson, getting Laporta is something that was cool. I mean, he's a really good tight end, but the Raiders had a good young tight end in already on the roster, and Michael Mayer. I didn't see a need to go out there and get Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers is. I know people are saying, "Oh, we have to get ready for the post Devontae Adams era." Like how are we? I mean, we're already in the post. We're already in the post of Devontae Adams era already. Like, I mean, that's what we're doing right now. Like, I mean, that's what I mean, we're trying to move on from Devontae Adams. I gotta say this: wide receivers, weapons, you can get those. You can get those guys anytime. It's quarterback, D line, offensive line. It's that simple as far as that goes. But I didn't see the comp between Detroit and the Raiders because there's really no comp there because Detroit went out there and got a quarterback, and I would take Jared Goff over anybody we got in our quarterback room right now. You don't want me to compare the Jared Goff's numbers to what we have in our quarterback room right now. It's it would be embarrassing. And before you say, Detroit has a lot of weapons, the Raiders have really good weapons as well. So let's not act like the Raiders are the cupboards bare weapons wise out there in Las Vegas. The quarterback situation, um, I think the whole thing about like they tried. I mean, there is no try. There's just do or don't. The quote Yoda. Um, we don't know what that package was like. We don't know if they actually did try. I mean, anybody can say they tried. I mean, anybody can say that. So this whole thing that they tried, I mean, we were told that Josh McDaniels and company tried, but then when Peter King came out with his article, he said that they were cheering up and down when the quarterbacks were being taken, and they thought they were going to get Paris Johnson, and they thought players were going to drop to him, so they were cheering quarterbacks being picked so players can drop. And the player that they really wanted was Paris Johnson, and they didn't even go. They didn't even get him. They got Tyree Wilson. So that's a joke right there. You got to go get a quarterback. And I know another thought process was, hey, we didn't see so and so come out. We didn't see Jay Daniels last year. We didn't see, it's always somebody who rises up. At the end of the day, like it's not next year is not no matter how you swing it. We all know when the great quarterback class is. That's one thing we do know in sports is when we have a really good quarterback class, we got one. And it's all about potential. But like this was a really good quarterback class and they missed out on it. And two things we chose AP over flaming out for the entire year. Where if they kept McDaniels, they would have been in the top 10. They would have been a top 10 team as far as picking in the draft, and that might help get a quarterback. So we picked AP over that. And when they had the opportunity, and this is the opportunity, you had DJ Glaze, who's going to be compared to three players for his whole career. He's going to be compared to JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, and to me, Blake Horn as well. Because those are three players the Raiders could have had until getting DJ Glaze. DJ Glaze has to be in almost an all-pro, tackle, and that you have that situation. You also have a situation where it's you got JJ McCarthy going to Minnesota, a really good athlete, a really good quarterback at Michigan, really good on third down. Going to a Minnesota team with a great play caller and and some serious weapons there. Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, all those guys there. So You have all those. You have all those. You have all those. Well, you have all. Excuse me. You have all the weapons there. I mean, that he has to be bad. Bo Nix in our division. I heard somebody, I heard one of the writers say that that'd be a bad pick in the first round. I bet you, if you play Bo Nix the whole season, he has just as many touchdowns as Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is only in his, and in his, career, he's had 2 seasons where he started in double digits. Um, as far as getting, games played, games started. He had 17 games he played in last year. He had 13 starts, and that's 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And then 1 year in Jacksonville, he had 21 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Like that's probably his best season. But I mean, and for all this mobility talk, he has had what three he had 3 rushing touchdowns last year with a long run of 23 yards. So like there's not that mobility thing that people keep bringing up is not really there. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But my prevailing thoughts about the space by the athletic Raider writers was happy they did it. Happy they gave our fans the opportunity to talk to them. It was like old school sports talk radio. But I didn't agree with the comp to Detroit. And then the quarterback situation is just it's a mid-win for next year, and they really should have addressed it this year. And let's be honest, Brock Bowers, as good as he is, and I'm not gonna sit there and say he's not good. I'm not gonna sit there and say he's not one of the most talented players in the draft, but he is a luxury pick. And Ryan kind of ripped through all the first round tight ends who have just been mid and below mid, if you will. So the Anthony Becks of the world. So you got to be careful when we're talking first round tight ends, right? And then you look at the league. A lot of the best tight ends in football are not first round picks. Like the Kelseys, the Kittles, all these guys are not first round picks. So we'll see. Especially the 13th pick overall. And then you also had the whole allotment of the defensive players as well too. So we'll keep right there. So the question I have for the Raider fans is, this is the question of the day. As much as you may hate the person and the let's ride and all the silliness and the quirkiness and the cringiness of a Russell Wilson, right? You're getting Russell Wilson for you would have gotten Russell Wilson for such a cheap number. Denver just wanted him out of the building so bad. It'd have been cheaper for him to be a cheaper option than for him to be on your roster than Gardner Minshew. And Gardner Minshew is, I don't know. Like, I mean, let's just be real. Like, he has not been a really dynamic thrower of the football. Hasn't been a guy who is been a guy who's been explosive offensively, making big plays and stuff like that. So the Raiders don't. I mean, I know Raider fans hate Russell Wilson, but was he a better option than Gardner Minshew? And by numbers he was. They both had, as far as passing attempts, we had Gardner Minshew had more passing attempts. He had more completions as well. Last year, 15 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions, in a very quarterback friendly offense with Shane Steichen. Russell Wilson at war with Sean Payton still came up and had 26 touchdown passes and 8 interceptions, and a lot less attempts. And I know you're gonna say, "Oh my God, I get Dwayne, shut up." It's Russell Wilson. Maybe you hate the hair of Russell Wilson. Maybe you're not a fan of Sierra and her music catalog. But if you're looking for a stopgap guy, and what's a stopgap? This is not a guy. Gardner Minshew was going to be the quarterback for the Raiders for the next 10 years. Like he's not that guy. I would say maybe the Raiders kind of missed the boat on that one. Now he's going to Pittsburgh and he's fighting out with Justin Fields. And if you and I think, although I'm not a Justin Fields fan, and there's that thing with Luke Getsy, I gotta say, like to be frank and honest, like you know, the Pittsburgh, you'd have to say you'd rather have Pittsburgh's room opposed to the Raiders room. Like you just have to. Like there's no other. It's not. It's a better room, and the Raiders had the opportunity to get that room, and they didn't. You could have. I'm sure you're going to see both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields play, and Justin Fields they can use as like a Cordell Stewart goal line, stuff like that. If he doesn't flat out beat out Russell Wilson. I mean, 26 TDs is significantly more than 15, and you can't use the excuse of weaponry. So, I mean, even though you may not like the player, you may not like the hair, you may not like Sierra, you may not like that whole situation, but at the end of the day, like Russell Wilson was a better option for the Raiders, and he was just looking for a home, so where he could start. And even when somebody has a down year, a year where everybody is just kind of crapping on him, and he throws up 26 touchdown passes and and 8 interceptions. That's pretty good football. He also had 3 rushing touchdowns, so that brings the number up to 29 touchdowns overall. Looking at Gardner Minshew, he had 3 touchdowns as well, 3 rushing touchdowns as well. So it gives him 18 touchdowns. So we're still there. We're still there. Russell did fumble 10 times last year. He lost 5. And Gardner Minshew fumbled 8 times last year and fumbled 5 times. As far as efficiency goes, let's go look at passer rating. He had a 84.6. Passer rating over here is I get passer rating. Passer rating was 98 for Russell Wilson. So by every metric, Russell Wilson's a better player than Gardner Minshew. Listen. You can roast me in the comments if you want. I'm just saying that you know, this is an AFC team that you're competing with for a playoff spot because the division is even if Mahomes got hurt, I don't think the Raiders are going to be a team that can win the division. So just something to think about. Yeah, you kind of got to give out the whole totality of the offseason and before you go into the season. So we'll see what happens. If he was, he wasn't, there's things you don't like about him, but if he was good enough for Mike Tomlin, I know we love AP, but we can't say AP is better than Mike Tomlin. At least not on that level yet. All right, Rivalry Nation. Talked about a lot of things here. Thank you for joining us here on the Put on Raiders podcast. We'll get more for you each day. And like I said, I'm trying to this May 1st, new life, new day, new month, trying to make sure we get all these shows out as far as that goes. So, all right. As always, go Raiders.